Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the science of our planet's home, ecology. We're going to try and uncover all those invisible threads that tie every single living thing on Earth together.
So, what does connect a tiny microbe to a giant whale? And what links them both to the sunlight and the sea? I mean, it sounds kind of like a riddle, right? But the answer, well, it's all in ecology. This is the science that reveals all those hidden connections and the relationships that literally tie our entire world together.
So, to really get a handle on that big question, we first got to get a clear definition. What is ecology anyway? Let's break down this science of relationships.
Okay, so here's the official definition. At its absolute core, ecology is the science of relationships. It's not about just looking at one tree or one animal in isolation. Nope. It's about studying the entire neighborhood. You know, how all the living things interact with each other and with their physical surroundings. We're talking about the water, the air, the soil, the whole shebang.
And you know what's really cool? The meaning of ecology is actually hidden right there in the word itself. Let's take a look at where it comes from.
All right, let's hop in our time machine and go way back to 1869. There was this German biologist, Ernst Haeckel, and he was working in this brand new field of study, and it needed a name. So he came up with a term that, honestly, just perfectly captured its whole vibe.
So what did he do? He smashed two Greek words together. You've got oikos, which means home or a place to live in, and then you've got logos, which means study. Pretty straightforward, right? So when you stick those two together, what do you get?
You get this, the study of the home of nature. I mean, how perfect is that? That single phrase completely reframes how we should see it. Ecology isn't just some dry science. It's the science of understanding our entire planet as one gigantic, interconnected home for all life.
Okay, so if ecologists are studying this massive home, what are they actually looking at day to day? Well, they basically break it all down into two fundamental parts, the organisms and their environment. So, on one hand, you have the biotic factors. Think bio for life. These are all the living parts of an environment. Every plant, every animal, every tiny microbe. Then, on the other hand, you have the abiotic factors, the non-living stuff. We're talking sunlight, water, temperature, the minerals in the soil. And ecology? Well, it's the study of the incredible dance between these two. And that dance really leads ecologists to ask three huge questions. First, how do living things relate to all those components in their environment? Second, how does the environment itself actually mold and shape the organisms that live in it? And finally, how do those organisms turn around and use the resources the environment gives them? You know, things like energy and nutrients.
Now, all these amazing interactions don't just happen randomly out in the void. They happen within specific, defined spaces. And to study nature's home in a way that makes any sense, ecologists needed a core unit to focus on. And that brings us to maybe the single most important concept in all of ecology.
Yep, the ecosystem. This idea is so totally central to the whole field that a lot of modern ecologists will just tell you that ecology is the study of ecosystems. Simple as that. It's the framework, the blueprint, that helps us understand how all the different pieces of the puzzle fit together.
So what is an ecosystem? Well, it can be something as tiny as a puddle or as mind-bogglingly vast as a desert. The key thing is that it's any unit where the living organisms and the physical environment are interacting, constantly exchanging materials and energy. Just think of it like a self-contained natural community.
And no matter the size, every single ecosystem has a few key things in common. First, you've got this constant interaction and interdependence. Seriously, everything relies on everything else. The whole system is powered by a flow of energy, usually starting with the sun, and the constant cycling of minerals and nutrients. And what's maybe the most incredible part? A healthy ecosystem tries to regulate its own stability. It's always working to find and keep its balance.
Okay, this all brings us to the big so what question. Why does any of this actually matter? Well, because ecology isn't just some abstract science for textbooks. It has huge real-world implications for our daily lives and for our collective future. This is where we go from knowledge to action.
See, understanding ecology gives us the right words, the right framework to actually talk about protecting our world. It teaches us that you can't just save one species in isolation. That's not enough. You also have to protect its ecotope. That's the physical place it calls home.
and the entire Biocoenosis, which is just a fancy word for the whole community of life that depends on it.
And really, this is the ultimate takeaway here. All this knowledge we get from ecology, it's the bedrock. It's the foundation for what we call sustainable development. It hands us the scientific rulebook for how we can live on this planet without, wrecking the very systems that keep us alive.
And that brings us right out to where we started, to that idea of a home. If our entire planet is one huge shared oikos, then ecology is so much more than just a science, isn't it? It's kind of like the instruction manual for living here. Which leaves all of us with a pretty important question to think about. If this planet is our home, what does it really mean to be a good roommate?